Now, most people, when they set a calorie deficit, either don't set a big enough one, are guessing and just not getting the percentages right. So they end up not seeing the results. So they just end up quitting. Throughout this video, I will explain how to set the right calorie deficit, mistakes that you need to avoid and pitfalls, and how you can start seeing fat loss from today. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe so I'll continue to provide you guys with great content. Now, the first thing that you want to do is head to an online calculator. I'll leave a link in my show notes where you can personally find out how to set your daily maintenance, the amount of calories you will need per day to eat to maintain. But we're not going to be eating those. We're going to be in a deficit. But we first need to work out our maintenance to then work out our deficit target. So once we've got our maintenance, we've worked that out. For hypothetical reasons, let's go with, for example, your maintenance is 3,000 calories a day. Now, within this video, I will guide you on how to set a 20 or 30% calorie deficit. You can go more, but for the purpose of this video, we will set a moderate deficit versus an aggressive one. So once you've got your maintenance, you will then work out your deficit. So you'll go 20% into your 3,000 calories if that's your maintenance. So therefore, you'll be consuming, let's say, for example, 2,500 calories per day. Now, you will then have to start tracking that. Now, I would personally recommend to download tracking apps. You've got MyFitnessPal, NutriCheck. These are all great apps that help you that start tracking your calories, because I can assure you one of the key mistakes people make when they're skinny fat and trying to lose it is they're not tracking their calories properly. They're just guessing, eyeballing their portion sizes and just not getting their calories right. So start tracking your food from today. You can download the app, and within a few days, you will most likely have learned a ton of new cool skills to help you track your food better. So you'll then start inputting all of your meals, everything that you eat and drink. Now, another mistake that people make is they forget to input absolutely everything. This is not just the food that they eat, but the drinks that they have as well. So if they have alcohol, if they have coffees, if they have juices, if they have Coca-Cola, for example, you have to input all of that into the tracking app, not just the food that you eat. So that is another common mistake that I see people make. So make sure you track absolutely everything. Full transparency, full accountability with every single thing that you eat and drink. I can assure you that this will pay off for you and you'll start burning fat because you will know exactly what's coming in. So then you can make any adjustments based off your numbers. Whether that's sometimes you may need to go down lower with your calories. That's sometimes that I see. So I mentioned before, setting a 20 or 30% deficit. That's where you may need to go. You may need to set a slightly more aggressive deficit at 30%. And that's not uncommon. I see this quite often with people that I help, but also myself. So you can set a slightly bigger deficit at 30%. Now, this depends on a couple of things. Number one, how much body fat you have to lose. If you have a high amount of body fat, so you're 50% skinny fat with no muscles, you can set quite an aggressive deficit. Now, obviously, there's a few pitfalls with that. Number one, you're probably going to be hungry if you set a really big deficit. So just bear in mind, if you've got a really challenging job or lifestyle, you've got children, for example, you will need to make sure that you're focused all of the time. Still, dips in energy will not sit well with you. You won't be able to focus if you're hungry and thinking about food all the time. So just bear that in mind when you set a bigger deficit than 20%. So 20% I find works quite well with most people. You're still able to burn fat. I'd say about 1 pound a week, which would be probably the average that most people lose on a 20% deficit over, let's say, a 3 month period. That could be done on 20% deficit for sure. £1 a week. You may lose a little bit more sometimes on 1 week. So you may end up losing more than your £12 over 12 weeks. But what you will do though, is you will create a system of how you, number one, track your calories that I mentioned. You will also learn more about your macronutrients. So how much protein you're eating, your carbs, how much carbs that you eat, how much fat that you eat. So you'll learn about your macros when you start tracking your foods. So not only will you lose fat and move away from being skinny fat to lean, you will understand the system, understand how to burn fat without restricting, without going into a diet. And this is another mistake that people make, is they go into a diet when they're trying to burn fat. They do diets, extreme diets, Weight Watchers, Slimming World, Clean 9, the Oxford diet. These are extreme diets that should be done with caution. Now, they may yield quicker results in a short space of time, but over the long run, you won't be able to maintain it. So with the 20% deficit that I'm talking about, you will be able to maintain it beyond the 12 weeks. So once you've lost your 12 pounds, your stone, you'll be able to continue to lose more, if that's the goal. You may be happy at that, but you can lose more because you will be able to understand how the system works. So once you've got your calories aligned, you know what to aim for, you will then need to tackle your macronutrients, your macros. So my advice would be to base your meals around high protein foods. Now, what's the advantage of this? Well, you'll be fuller for longer. Protein has a satiety effect, which means that if you have the majority of your foods high in protein, you'll just be naturally fuller for longer, and therefore the calories that you eat for the day will naturally come down. So you'll be able to stick to your deficits much easier, versus if you was eating low amount of protein and more carbs, let's say refined carbs from or breads, stuff like that, you may really struggle to hit your deficit target and overeat all of the time, constantly be hungry, wanting more food, snacking more. These are all common pitfalls that I see people fall into when they're not getting their macros aligned. Now, the percentages that I would personally aim for with your macros would be this. Now, I would aim for a minimum of 30 to 40% protein, so quite high. Now, what this is going to bring your carbs down naturally. Now, what's the benefit of bringing your carbs down? Well, the main benefit of bringing your carbs down is you'll be able to manage your blood sugar, because carbs spike your blood sugar quite often if you're eating too many carbs, particularly quick, easy, convenience carbs, which I just mentioned. And remember, carbs, particularly sugar, is hidden in so many foods. So you have to be aware of that. And this is where tracking your macros comes into play. It can be really helpful when you're tracking, let's say, a food that you've seen at the supermarket. So it tells you how much sugar is within that food. So you can either put that back and choose something else. So your carbs would be set at 30% only. That would be it. So if you're one to eat plenty of carbs and base all of your meals around carbs, you may find this one quite difficult to do. But I can assure you, if you do that, and you can stay at 30% only per day, it would mean that you'll get a bit more balance with your blood sugar. So you'll also then set 30% fat intake, healthy fats from healthy foods containing good healthy fats, omega-3 fats, fish oils, good oils, extra virgin oil, nuts, seeds. And I just want to go back actually to the carbs. When you're eating your carbs, base your carbs around whole food carbs. So lentils, beans, chickpeas, quinoa, and try and move away from those refined carbs which I mentioned, particularly from quick, easy, convenience carbs like the cakes, the croissants, the breads, wraps, noodles, stuff like that. Quick, easy, convenient carbs that you might find in the supermarket that is just easy for you to prepare. I understand it's convenient. That's why they're called convenient carbs, but they don't fill you up. You'll be hungry shortly after. So high protein dishes would be the likes of eggs in the morning, Greek yogurts, protein powder, You can have chicken breast with rice for lunch. You can have plenty of chicken meals, lean turkey breast meals, lean chicken mince, chicken sausages. You can base your meals around protein powder, protein smoothies. So there's many options for high protein dishes that will fill you up and prevent you from overeating your foods. So that would be my best advice for setting a calorie deficit, a moderate one, 20%, maximum 30%. Ultimately, stick to what I just told you, tracking your foods, etc., and you will be able to get into a deficit and start burning belly fat. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please comment, like, or share, and I wish you all the best of luck with your journey. I hope it all works out for you. And bye for now. Have a great day.